And we're here with On the Hash, or what do we call it? That's Hits, IG Live Special. We welcome you in this particular Friday night installment. It's the 17th day of October, the year 2025, and we're glad you are tuned in as we give you the 5 quick hitter takeaways from another Friday night of high school football action in Virginia. As we say hello to all of you out there, interact with us on our social channels. If you're watching on IG, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, Virginia Preps, YouTube too, Cova Sports TV, as we say hello to all of you out there. Let's go through the takeaways, the hits, the quick hitters as we're getting close to midnight. And we're going to start off with number 1, Class 5, the Riverbend Bears against Colonial Forge. There were, I think, 3, could be mistaken, might be 4. I think maybe 4 undefeated matchups in the state this week. 24 teams unblemished coming into this particular Friday in October. You had in Class 2 the Union Bears against the Lebanon Pioneers in Southwest Virginia. You had Thomas Dale and Dinwiddie. Dale Class 6, Dinwiddie Class 4 in the Central District in Richmond. You had Central Lunenburg and Buckingham, Class 2, James River District action. And you had Riverbend and Colonial Forge. Riverbend now in Class 5, Region D. Colonial Forge in Class 6, Region B. They went to win the region championship as a 6 seed last year. Made a great run, then fell and ran into Oscar Smith, their nemesis come playoff time. But Forge, red hot. Riverbend also scorching hot. They lost last year in the region finals to Briar Woods after ousting Stonebridge. It was a young Stonebridge team, a little different this season. They might see each other again, which we'll get to. But Riverbend went up and down the field on them. Ian Shook Jr. had him shook up. All shook up. Yeah. Elvis, thank you very much. And Camden Simmons, who's a junior, he catches the ball, he runs the ball, he returns punts, he does it all for him. And he's going to get a lot of visual attention moving forward. 41-27. Not surprised that Riverbend won, but a little bit in kind of they cruised. They're putting up 50 points per game. And we have Riverbend in our Class 5 top 10 rankings at number 8 in the state coming in this week. They were not in the preseason top 10. They're 7-0 for the first time in literally 16 years. Well, those kids weren't born back in 2009. So I say to all of you out there, who do they leapfrog now? Who do they jump? Because the teams in our rankings on Virginia Preps ahead of them, 2-time defending champ Maury, they're not going ahead of them. Green Run, who's unbeaten, now the only undefeated team in Hampton Roads, which we'll get to in a moment. Stonebridge, who they'll probably see in the playoffs. Highland Springs got a big win against an out-of-state opponent ranked number 3 in D.C. Warwick, those wascally Warwick Waiters. What a great defense and a big matchup for them next week to try to claim their first ever Peninsula District titles and take on the storied Hampton Crabbers. Undefeated Patrick Henry Roanoke. Okay, they're also unbeaten. Maybe they're better than them. And then Kings Fork. So we got to see, people are going to complain. How do you have a team that's 7-0 on the verge of going 10-0 potentially that low in the rankings? But Class 5 is that deep. It's that good. And I don't want to hear anybody say to me ever again, too, about how, Maury didn't beat it. Someone told me that last few weeks back. No, they beat some good teams. You're winning Class 5 again if you three-peat or you win it in general and someone dethrones Maury from three-peating or someone beats the team that dethrones them. You're doing something right. More coming on Class 5. Let's go to Class 6, Region D, Northern Virginia. Rivalry games have been the story up there for years. The Stonebridges and the Westfields, Westfield and Centerville, then it was Westfield and Madison. And tonight it was Centerville and Madison. 35-32, seesaw affair, back and forth. We know this is not the typical Madison team that they've had the last couple of years. Let me get a water because I'm about to cough, and I want to do it to all of you out there. So I go out of the screen for a second. They win the game 35-32, and it's the first win over the Warhawks since 2007. Most points put up on Madison's defense in the regular season. We're not talking about playoff games against an Oscar Smith or South County, but the most points put up on them in 7 years. And their quarterback, the Albany commit, Will Shields, he's been dealing all year long. They've been scoring in the 40s. He's been thrown for 300-plus yards, lots of touchdowns. He's really, really good, and Albany's getting a steal in him, I think. He uses legs, too. real firm grasp of the offense. And now Centerville's got Westfield coming up next week on the road. Centerville's not coming off a great year. Last couple of years have been less than stellar. They haven't won in the playoffs since 2022. They ended up losing more than they won last year. Same goes in 2023 when they went 2-8. So this is a resurgent bounce-back year for Coach John Shields. I know he's proud of his young boy there, Will at the quarterback spot, who's been just slicing and dicing. So to go from what Centerville was last year, missing the playoffs, being a 5-5 football team, to now maybe they beat Washington Liberty a couple weeks back 35-28 after W&L had knocked off one of the better teams in their region. And that, of course, being when W&L was able to take down the one and the only Westfield Bulldogs, 14-13. So if you do the transitive property, which I don't always do, if you believe in Team A beat Team B beat Team C, so Team A can beat Team C, you say they're in the driver's seat to win this region. Now, they beat Madison. They've now beaten W&L. Now they got Westfield coming up. So Centerville, from out of the playoffs to now maybe a region championship. Pretty neat story. That leads me into my number 3 takeaway. Back to the 757, where I reside. And I'll probably see this game next week. I'm thinking about it in Norfolk. The Lake Taylor Titans. All you people out there, and you all know who you are, all out there in Facebook land, you know who you are. Don't make me call you out by name. Don't make me do it, because if you make me do it, I'll tell you what, his wife's going to get you too. And I'm talking about the longtime Hall of Fame coach of the Titans, none other than Herman B. Sawyer, Hank Sawyer. His wife Saunders got rings, and he has to hear about it, all the rings she's got in championships, more than him. But he's got 3 himself, and he's closing in on 250 career wins. And people said it. I can put the screenshots up and embarrass all of you out there. He needs to give it up. The game has passed him by. Washed up. Retire. Hank Sawyer. 3-7 last year. Didn't go great. Young football team. But history lesson will tell us this. Take your lumps with young kids if you know what you're doing, and he knows what he's doing, and he's done it for a long time quite well. You'll get things to go your way. And that's what happened when they won their first state title. You go back to 2009, Heartbreak Hotel, lost to Phoebus. Then they had a young football team, lost 3 regular season games, got blasted by Hampton in the playoffs. Then they had a nice run, fell close to Phoebus, and then brought back almost the entire squad, won their first state title. Not saying they're winning a state title this year, but I'm going to tell you this. Class 3 is weak enough on the eastern side of the state, not the western side of the state, that this team that he's got this year that has won 6 in a row, they're averaging 48.6 points per game. Their only blemish was to Hampton, 40-34 in a shootout. They're going to be the number 1 seed in 3A, regardless of probably what happens the rest of the way. And in the state semifinals, Kettle Run, who's now recovered, they had a tough loss to Millbrook, but they've now put forth 2 really good wins, beating Sharando 14-7 tonight, hammered Hanley over the weekend. They're probably just 1 win, dare we say, mild upset of Kettle Run away. And I'm not even sure that's an upset, depending on where that game's being played, if they were to see each other as the 1 seeds to hold out of 3A and 3B, from being back in what would be his 7th state championship game. And nobody, and I mean nobody, I don't care who you are, if you're a Lake Taylor grad, you're the biggest diehard, saw that coming, particularly after their scrimmage that I watched in person against Nansemond River in August. So to go from 3-7 last year to being on this surge right now, mighty impressive. Now, enthusiasm will be tempered probably next week because Maury comes to town. They come down the road, and Maury's just whacking people. And they've had Lake Taylor's number as of late. But it's a great story. Veteran coach who people said needed to hang it up. He's forgotten more football than all you coaches out there from your couch and the sidelines and the bleachers will ever know. That's the bottom line. Let me go to numero 4, number 4. Oh, we got some interaction. My man Corey Sanchez out there. Hey, appreciate you and Kevin Mays, by the way, for the shout out last week during the Union and Ridgeview game. I had a chance to listen to it on my Alexa in the background while I was watching on NFHS and also watching Bethel Phoebus. Do appreciate that from you guys. They did outmuscle Lebanon 35-14, 8-0 for the Bears, who I've got right now number 2 in the state behind Glenver, Corey. And I'm really fascinated to see if we get that state semifinal matchup of a Union Glenver. Both have a lot of work to do between now and then. And there'll be some subplots and storylines that we have to follow. But you've seen them up close and personal. That running game with Keith Chandler, the bruising tailback. And then you got the quarterback who's slippery in Cam Bostic. And Glenver's got a quarterback, if you haven't seen him, Brody Doyot. He's fantastic. But he's not a one-man show because he's got a lot of players around him. Roland Hanks is making plays. Kevin Clifford does a heck of a job, much like Travis Turner. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'll go on record right now and say it and make people mad. We get a Union Glenver state semifinal matchup. That could be as entertaining as any in the entire Commonwealth when we get to state semifinal Saturday in December. And we're talking about all, 12 state semifinal games. So that would be a lot of fun if that does come to fruition. But again, other teams hope they can knock them off. And that was a tight game. I think it was deadlocked at the half before Union pulled away in the second half. That leads me to my number 4 takeaway as we go through the Hats Hits that we put up on Twitter, or X as we call it now. Biggest surprises of the night. That wasn't a real surprise. Lake Taylor's win over Churchland 43-35 was not a real big surprise. But there were 3 across the board. As we say hello to Connor out there and Larry and Hampton Crabber football. Oh, you can't crush your crab. We found it out Thursday night, and a big one coming up with Warwick after the Crabbers just steamrolled Phoebus. But 3 surprises, 1 in the 757, 1 in Central Virginia, 1 in the South. Let's get to them. Appomattox blanks Alta Vista 13-0. Why does that surprise me? Why should we care? Well, because Alta Vista had moved up to number 3, I think, in my latest top 10 on Virginia Preps. They jumped from 5 to 3. Had a couple blemishes early to Central Lunenburg, who beat Buckingham tonight. Stays unbeaten. So a tip of the hat to Will Thomas and his Chargers out there. But they lost to Lower Botetourt. They rallied to beat Riverheads. They won 4 in a row. They've been putting up 41, 56, 65, 65. I thought they had found the offense. They were grooving. You fumble the football, bad things happen. They didn't score at all against Appomattox. They got shut out completely. And this is not the Appomattox teams of a couple years back when they had Trey Lawing and some of those guys. Really stunned by that score. Wilson Memorial, good football team. Underrated football team, perhaps. They beat Allegheny with Desmond Jordan at quarterback 17-3. You keep him out of the end zone, you're doing something right. Really surprised and impressed by that. And then War Hill taking down Poquoson. That was sort of a back-and-forth game. They were down, I think, 28-20 at one point. Carson Strickland had a really good game last week at quarterback, and they get it done. Jerome Rhodes, big props to you. He could pass and win the Mr. T lookalike contest, and no pity that fool. Let me tell you something. War Hill now in Region 4A. Look out. They're surging up. They get a home game now with this big win. They've come out of nowhere. They had that early loss to Lafayette, and we kind of wrote them off after they got beat by Smithfield, thinking, they're not going to beat. His group is doing a nice job. Derek out there, got to shout out the Windsor Dukes. Yes, Derek, pick up a copy, shameless plug here, of the Smithfield Times. I wrote about Benjamin Du Bois's Dukes this past week. They have a chance to make the playoffs. They beat Surrey tonight. Looking strong out there, like what they're doing. And a big renaissance and turnaround for them. Neat story as well. But so what does all that mean, those biggest surprises? What does it mean? It opens the door for different teams that we didn't see on our radar getting 1 seeds in those regions. 1B, Sussex Central. Didn't see that on the radar. 2A, Lunenburg's got a chance still, but Armstrong's probably going to get the 1 seed. And I think people might have thought Thomas Jefferson was the favorite in that region going in. And then in 3C, it still remains to be seen what takes place the rest of the way, because Liberty Christian, who now probably vaults to the 1 line, defending 2-time champ, there's no surprise there, but they still got to play Heritage of Lynchburg. And depending on how things go the last couple of weeks, you still got out there for Heritage of Lynchburg, who's playing great despite one of their key running backs going down here recently with an injury. Won't see him back, but they have enough in the backfield and depth as Brad Bradley's Pioneers. But you still look at Heritage of Lynchburg, and they've got to play Liberty Christian and Jefferson Forest the last 2 weeks of the season. So it's too early to call, almost like an election, who's going to get the 1 seed in 3C. But there's also a scenario that plays out there where if, let's say, Heritage goes and beats Liberty Christian, but they lose to Jefferson Forest, Broadway, who just got beat by Turner Asheville last week, could get the 1 seed out of nowhere. That could happen. So it's still very murky as far as who gets the 1 seed. Bottom line is it doesn't always matter who gets a 1 seed, but it now gives us a little more intrigue for the last couple of weeks for power ratings to see what happens. 3 surprising results. There will be a few more that makes us say we've got it all figured out, and then when it takes place, we don't have it figured out. We really don't. So that's number 4. And our 5th and final one as we get ready to close up shop here. Player of the year races are always fascinating to me, be it offensive, defensive, statewide. I know some are in a district region player of the year races, and I'm more thinking statewide. Because in Class 6, it's generally the quarterback on a winning team. Class 4, it's Savion Hyder. If you didn't see what he did tonight, he had like 12 touches for 300-plus yards and dominated again as Louisa smoked Albemarle. He's got that on wrap. Even if they get beaten regionals, if they don't give it to Savion Hyder, there should be an investigation, federal investigation, not statewide investigation. And I'm sure Charles King Jr. out there who's watching on Facebook agrees with me as he says, Louisa Lions, Lion Nation, and Daisier Carter's an excellent Robin to his Batman, if you will, or Superman, however you want to view it. Class 3, probably whoever wins the championship is going to be the guy. If it's, your favorites look like your LCAs, your Heritages, your Lord Botetots, best guy on one of those teams, probably going to be in the conversation. If it's an Angel Rigney, if it's a Quentin Jones, if it's an Aiden Slash, one of those guys at quarterback or running back. And then 2 and 1, there's always a great running back in 2, although I mentioned Doyle got the quarterback at Glenver. And 1, Essex is the team to beat, but big game coming up this weekend with Essex and Rappahannock. And my top player in Class 1, whether they win or not right now, is Keldon Hamilton at Eastside. He's a two-way force. But Class 5, player of the year race, they're not one in our rankings. That's Maury. And there certainly could be someone else from another team. But what Green Run and Highland Springs got tonight from their 2 marquee names really puts them, I don't know if they're at the leaderboard, but they're on the short list of like Heisman Trophy finalists for this thing. Put them in the top 4 for sure. So Jackson tonight for Green Run, he runs the football for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he came out angry in the second half. It was a 17-14 game with Bayside. He put that thing to bed with his quick 2 runs and boom, boom, 24-14. Good night, Marlins, who now will try to be jockeying with Indian River and Kempsville and Salem and Cox for a 2, a 3, a 4 seed in Region 5A. Jackson, the U commit, he's got speed, he's got power, he's got vision, he has hands, can catch out the backfield, he's a complete package. Monarchs are getting a steal. Ricky Ronnie and company have to be thrilled to death, as is his assistant running backs coach, Tony Lucas, too, to be getting this young man who is on pursuit for 2,000 all-purpose yards. And he can put his team on his back. And he had to tonight. Tristan Pitbull Williams, the other backfield mate of his, not in the lineup. So he had to do with the bulk of the rushing, and he might be called upon for 20-25 carries and have to carry his team in a big spot, be it against an Indian River or a rematch with a Kempsville, or they get to the States, and they run into one of those teams like a Maury or even a great Warwick defense, or they see a Highland Springs, a Stonebridge, Riverbend, Patrick Henry, Roanoke in the States. That could be the story there. And they're cross-bracketing this year, by the way. So it's A versus C, B versus D. So from our preseason rankings, if you will, you'd be getting a Green Run, Highland Springs, Maury, Stonebridge. Remains to be seen if that's what happens, but let's just stay with it for a second. Highland Springs' case, I watched Buddy Richardson up close and personal in their win against Phoebus, and he was terrific in that game. Friendship Collegiate, a little more put together right now than Phoebus is. Number 3 in the state, according to Rivals, and on 3 in D.C. I believe behind St. John's and Gonzaga, if that sounds right. Although Gonzaga took it on the chin here recently against Bishop McNamara, who Maury beat, by the way, so that might put some quiet to the arguments of who's better in a 7x7 between Maury and Oscar Smith for a few weeks. Or it might get people brought up. I don't really know or care. But Buddy Richardson, 4 touchdowns, an INT, 29-16 victory over Friendship Collegiate. And he does it all from there at quarterback, throwing it, running it. He's a converted wide receiver. And on defense, he makes plays too. He hits people and makes plays. So those 2 guys, Richardson and Jackson, are player of the year candidates for sure. Not just on a district level, not just on a region level, but statewide, as they have a chance to accentuate their abilities even more for their teams on the chase for a championship. So there you have it. Those are the takeaways for this particular Friday night. A lot of exciting action still awaits on the gridiron in high school football for the final couple weeks of October as we return the calendar to November and the playoffs, which are just about here. It's amazing how fast this goes year after year after year. So there you have it. I think I said this on my last show. I can't figure out the NFL for the life of me. Underdogs, take them. Primetime games, take them. I don't know who's playing. Take the underdogs. Underdogs are barking. They're howling. They're woofing. If you had the Bengals beating the Steelers like that with Joe Flacco, who just got traded to them, then you're a lot smarter than I am because, and you're lying too, by the way. And in college football, I was just about ready to buy into the hype of the U, Miami. I'm not even gonna do the whole, but you got an L. That's why I didn't give you the U, the full U. You got an L on a Friday night against Louisville. Louisville beat you. Tommy Jackson's alma mater. And now the Canes, if they slip up on the banana peel again, you probably won't be in the ACC championship. Shame, 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 Mario Cristobal. Shame, shame, shame. You do it every year. You get people all gassed up, whether you were at Oregon or now you're at Miami, and then Miami just goes, same Louisville team that lost to Virginia in OT. So the Cavaliers, like Duke, like Georgia Tech, like SMU, all delirious, thinking they're going to be in the ACC championship game, and there's still a lot of football to be played in college to sort that out. And I'm not burying Miami, but I was getting ready to Dennis Green, the late, great Denny Green, rest in peace, crown you as a definite Final Four top team, and you spit the bit, Miami. You spit the bit. I'm sure Michael Irvin's ready to go on a rant with his anger. JH, Maury, 259-0 streak. I'm going to say this, JH. I tried to warn people that were telling me this was the year Maury was going to get beat, not win the championship. But I'm also going to say this, and this is going to make the Maury. I'm going to hear about this from Mike Privet next week. I already know it. He's going to see his alma mater, DC, for the Commodores, for Coach Terry McCain. I don't think Maury's going to shut Lake Taylor down. I don't. Now, I didn't say they're going to lose the game. Again, Lake Taylor's offense is putting up 48.6 a game. If you shut them out, you keep them to single digits, now you really got my respect. I've seen the defense. I think Lake Taylor can run a little bit on them. I didn't say a lot, a little bit. Couple drives, couple scores, maybe 14. It might go up 60, might go up 70. But I don't think you're shutting them down entirely. Don't think it's happening. Keon Johnson's good. Jeremiah Farabee's good. They got some bigger guys up front than they've had in recent years. I'm not saying they're Maury. And I know they are prone to turnovers. And I'm not saying they're losing the game to Lake Taylor. So don't think I'm saying something outrageous. But you shut them down, now you're doing something. And the Eastern Districts, it's leveled off from what they saw the first 3 weeks with, obviously, Bishop McNamara, Verina, and Cardinal Gibbons. So there you have it. The baseball, it's lost my interest. The Dodgers are going to win it again, unfortunately, because Shohei Ohtani is not a human being. He's an alien. He's from outer space. And game 6 and possibly 7 with Toronto-Seattle is probably the only interesting left game in October for baseball because, unfortunately, the evil guys from the West Coast are going to win it again. And it just pains me. Pains me beyond what I can express to all of you out there because I loathe the Dodgers. They are the new Yankees. They buy, and their fan base will tell me I'm just hating, and I am. I'm absolutely hating on them because I do not like them. I would like to say they cheat, but it is within the rules. It's just not embraceable for me. That's all. So there you have it. That's going to do it. Shout out to my guy, D. Vic, out there of Victory Life. I had someone, actually 2 people tell me tonight they recognized the Victory Life stuff. So we will do this again with you next time. And as always, have a great sports weekend. I'm sure we'll catch you around. And don't forget, 757 Sports Talk is supposed to come your way 10 a.m. to 12 noon. If Coach Young is on time, it'll be a surprise to you and me. But have a great sports weekend, everyone, and we'll catch you later. See you, folks.